All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday Wire. I'm Bryan McClain, otherwise known as Hesher, here at Alternate Current Radio. It's great to have you with us today for this live broadcast. This is your what we try to normally have as a weekly news omnibus program. I'm sure you've noticed we've taken a few weeks off here and there lately. A lot going on around here at Alternate Current Radio and as well at 21stcenturywire.com. So sitting in for Patrick Henningsen today, and I've got a couple of our very good friends and colleagues with us as well. So we're looking forward to this episode of Sunday Wire. Oh boy, a lot going on in the world, and it's been a strange week. Of course, we had a lot going on. We did 2 boiler rooms this week, and yeah, just a lot to cover. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in our friends here. We're going to be joined by Ruckus, Adam Clark, joining us now. Ruckus, what's up? Welcome to the Sunday Wire.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever it may be, wherever you all may be. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to have you here with us. Thanks for being here, man. And let's go ahead and welcome Joseph Arthur to the Sunday Wire as well. Joseph, welcome.
Hello, good
How's it
morning.
going?
Good,
Oh,
how
let's
are
just
you
let
doing? Oh
anybody in
wait,
here, huh?
let me establish the better camera real quick.
There we go.
I see. Let me see. Settings. Is it settings? Oh yeah, here we go.
Definitely.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah. Well,
How's
hey,
it
it's
going?
good, man. Good. It's great to have you. That looks great, man. I love the background.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old watching Miss Rachel right now, so I don't know how long I can stay here. I'm surprised I'm still here, but thanks for having me on. We'll see.
All right. Well, Roger, the 3-year-old running around, and be
Yeah.
sure that's totally fine. We're happy to have you and your 3-year-old with us today. Let me just kick off by reading a statement from Patrick Henningsen because I know you guys have heard a lot of questions, and a lot of people have been asking, how's Patrick? Where's Patrick? And he put a message out on his X account. And, I know that there's a certain contingent of Alternate Current Radio and 21st Century Wire viewers and listeners out there that are not big on social media. So just in case anyone missed it, let me read this statement from Patrick. He writes on his X account, you can find this there, and on his other social medias if you got them. But if you haven't heard yet, he wrote the following yesterday. Many of you messaged me asking what happened to me and why I haven't posted our shows since early July. I apologize for not being in touch with everyone regarding my sudden disappearance from the airwaves, but I assure you it was for a good reason. In mid-July, I was hospitalized, after which time I had to undergo a life-saving surgery, followed by 10 days in ICU recovering from the operation. Considering myself very lucky to be here. Since then, the last 6 weeks have been extremely difficult and challenging as a recovery period, rehabilitating some basic bodily functions, including breathing, walking, and the ability to engage in day-to-day tasks, which we all take for granted. This has been the biggest physical, mental, and spiritual challenge of my life, and although I'm not yet out of the woods, I'm experiencing real positive improvements each day. Thanks to some transformational and radical approaches to my day to day health, nutrition, and general outlook on life. The recovery period is long, but week by week, day by day, we're moving forward. Aside from posting some tweets, I haven't been well or strong enough to do very much less host the 6 live programs a week I was doing before this incident. In time, I hope to gradually return to doing more media and journalism. A deep gratitude to all my family, friends, and fellow media colleagues, as well as amazing medical and care staff who've helped me get through the last 2 months. It really means a lot. Without it, I'm not sure where I would be. Also, a really big thank you to our part time media team members and volunteer contributors at 21 Wire, all of whom have been helping to keep our website, along with X, Telegram, Facebook, Rumble, etc. accounts going during my extended absence. See you again soon, Patrick. So, yeah, Patrick, thanks for putting that out, man. A lot of people have been asking about you, and thank you to everybody that weighed in the comments there. Some really nice comments from friends and viewers and colleagues. So just wanted to put that out there in case anyone hadn't read that yet. Yeah, so great to have you guys here with me. Joseph, it's great to have you. Man, what are you thinking, man? You've been, so all of us have not been on TNT airwaves for some time now, and kind of moving back into our own swim lanes here with what we're doing. What have you been up to, man?
Well, speaking on Patrick, just what you just read, it just goes to show you that how important our health is, and to not take anything for granted in this life, and to establish ourselves in presence and spirit more and more, So I mean, my main work for the last year really has been that, is kind of disidentifying with the ego as much as possible, and coming into sort of a practice of presence and forgiveness, and looking for life's purpose and what that purpose is for me. And I'm getting rather esoteric and spiritual straight out the gate, but that's just kind of where my head's been at. Yeah, TNT announcing that they're going off the air next week. I mean, all of us have invested a lot in TNT, and TNT's been a great source for us, I think, for our survival, and helping us keep alive to establish our purpose and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the end of an era, and it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. I doubt they'll just fall away. I think that they'll probably reestablish themselves in some kind of way. But, my heart goes out to all my colleagues who have invested a lot, and who might be feeling unsteady on their feet, which is why I guess I went straight to the spiritual this morning, because it's like, really, in those tough times, I've been thinking about this concept called spiritual grit lately. And like the word grit is really good in life. And just because it's like that wherewithal to persevere. But when we think about like where our strength comes to persevere, it doesn't come from our egos. And if we go, hey baby, there's my daughter right here. Daddy's on the radio talking about spiritual grit. What do you think? Well, at least she's off camera. All right, go ahead and play right there. That's fine. So yeah, if we think about where our source of strength ultimately comes from, if we make it about our sort of just our mindscape and the land of our ego, we can fall into fear and anxiety really quickly, especially when times get tough. So when times do get tough, be it a health crisis or a sort of job crisis, that's usually a great time to sort of, you're sort of being called, I think, into source energy or presence or God, and to establish that strength by tapping into presence, and sort of going into the spirit of love rather than the spirit of fear. And in order to get there, I think forgiveness in general is required. But yeah, so that's just where my mindset is at lately. Every day I wake up and sort of, or if you want to think of it in biblical terms, seek first the Father and all else will be added on. And when life is just zooming along, you got your job, you got your health, you got your group of friends, it's much easier to just keep going along with that. but in tough times, I guess the gift of tough times, as my daughter is doing the background track to this
Lovely. Great.
little Sunday morning sermon, if you will.
Love it.
In those tough times, the good part is it realigns us with the source energy, or what I'm calling spiritual grit.
All right. Well, I love it. I appreciate those words. I think we've probably all been talking with a lot of our friends and colleagues, and there's a lot changing in the media sphere right now, and what's going on with TNT is only one example of that. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us here, and Patrick and Basil and many of our other colleagues at TNT, and we just want to take our hats off to
All right, hey, you guys. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think this is my exit music right here.
all right.
I recognize the smile on her face, and she's not gonna let this go. This is like
The song is gonna come to a crescendo any minute here, I'm sure.
this is gonna undo the entire broadcast. I'm glad I got to check in with you guys. God bless both of you. God bless everybody listening. Thank God Patrick's health is getting stronger. Patrick's a good friend of mine, and his strength and his voice is definitely returned. So I expect full force Patrick, and then some to come back soon. And he's already back, I think, in many ways. And the same, I think, can be said for TNT. I don't think we've seen the last of TNT. I think it's a temporary derailment and a realignment, and we all need to realign from time to time. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Joseph. It was great to have you briefly.
God bless you guys. Happy Sunday. We're going to go swimming, and then we're going to go to church. Hallelujah.
All right. You guys have a great one. We'll see you.
See you later. Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye.
All right. So, anyway, getting back to TNT, just want to, take our hats off to TNT and thank Mike and Jenny and the entire team over there for giving us the opportunity and providing that platform for us. I hear my children barking as well. Sorry about that. Security dogs are lit up today. It's a lot going on. And anyways, we look forward to what they're going to do next over there, and look forward to working with them again in the future. What a wild ride, eh, Ruckus?
Yeah, I guess Joseph kind of dropped that on everybody. I'm not sure if everybody 100% had heard the official announcement, but they did now. So yeah, it is official. They have announced it, I guess. But a lot of folks still tuning into TNT haven't heard the news, so they're going to be shocked to learn that this next week will be the last for TNT. So I guess their last show will be. Well, I don't even know if it's really going to be our Friday, because that's like their Saturday in Australia. So who knows? Maybe the last one might be Thursday. I'm not exactly sure about all of that, but yes, it's as Joseph said. Hopefully it's at least just a temporary pause, but regardless, it's going off air. So we're all scrambling to make sure that, I hope y'all know where to find us. If you're tuned into this, you're good to go. But there's probably going to be a lot of folks on TNT are wondering what happened to those hosts? What happened to those guests? Where did so-and-so go? And I hope that they can find us all. I know here at Alternate Current Radio, Hesher, we're going to make every effort to stay in the fight and be discoverable and noticeable and out there. So we'll probably be expanding and growing. There's probably going to be a lot of exciting things for a lot of folks who used to be at TNT, because they're going to take all of that creative energy and experience and the new listeners that they have developed throughout their time with TNT and do great things with it. We've made a lot of tremendous friendships. Our Rolodexes have gotten fat. So things are looking good, I think, Hesher. I think all in all, it's a good thing. Ultimately, no matter how you look at it, it was a worthwhile experience. None of what we did was a waste, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned so much and gained so much experience so quickly there, especially when we moved to the video format, which we had been doing, at Boiler Room for some time and playing with Sunday Wire. And we were able to parlay a lot of those skills into, what we were already doing, what we're building with Alternate Current Radio and 21 Wire. So, and that goes for all of our colleagues too. There's so many great broadcasters there, so many great voices, and everybody is out there on their social medias and realigning themselves right now. And it's an interesting environment. It's always been an interesting environment, the independent media environment, as we've covered on all our shows. across 21 Wire, Boiler Room, ACR, TNT, and all the various places. The independent media itself has been a topic of conversation quite a bit, because these machinations are they move so quickly. Alternate Current Radio just had its 10-year anniversary. Boiler Room's about to have its 10-year anniversary coming up in April. And Sunday Wire's been going for, my goodness, I think since before Alternate Current Radio. We shifted it over there when it already had, 80, 100 or so episodes, maybe a little bit less. I can't remember. But we we do what we need to do, to include taking breaks to take care of ourselves. Maybe not enough of that, quite frankly, because it's been such a grind, to do this outside of a lot of the popular media swim lanes, if you will. I mean, our existence on YouTube has always been very questionable, to the point where we've had to take Boiler Room off to other platforms pretty much because you know uh, in this modern era, apparently the illustrious global governments of the world and technocrats of the world want to be the arbiters of what is true, what is disinformation, what is misinformation, and what is malinformation, which is a very dangerous thing to freedom in general. That idea of censorship is something that we have all experienced in just about every form and fashion they've been able to wing it out. So yeah, it's no surprise that we have to shift, and big endeavors like TNT may not work out in some cases. But I'm with Joseph. I hope that they come back. I really believe that Mike Ryan and the crew over there. They have that same sort of media grit. Joseph talked about spiritual grit. They have that media grit. So hopefully they will, come back with a new reformed version of what they were doing or something. But in the meantime, we're going to keep doing what we do over here, and being the anti-censorship microphone pirates we've always been, Ruckus.
Yeehaw, cowboy, let's do it.
All right, all right.
We're also doing this. We're also manning the Sunday Wire. So enough love for TNT. Let's give Sunday Wire some love. What do
That's
we got
right.
on the
That's right.
menu today?
Yeah, so this is episode 515 of the Sunday Wire. And I hope the audio is good. Is everybody cool? Someone give me an audio check in the Discord chat over there. It looks like everything is good over here. But so we had the debate happened this week, Ruckus. That was interesting. We did a restream and a peanut gallery boiler room on the debate. Thank you, chat room. And any takeaways from that you want to throw out here, Ruckus?
Well, I did notice that we aired that one on YouTube, and YouTube has not had issue with it, so that was good.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's fascinating. I don't know. I think we spoke to death about this during and then afterwards on this Thursday's Boiler Room. This past Thursday, of course. The thing is that I have noticed in the news cycle that we've probably learned a lot more since, because the way it's being evaluated and looked at, it would appear that, for the most part, folks agree from all sides of the aisle and across all spectrums and types of media that Kamala Harris was the superior debater in that instance. And they were like, but, there was a lot of but, nobody really likes her. So that was interesting. But they were saying that, yeah, something was off. Trump just didn't do his best. It was terrible. And then we've been discussing, well, maybe there'll be another time. Well, no, apparently, officially, I was just reading the headlines, looking at some news today. Trump says, no way, we're not doing another debate. Kamala says she's not doing another debate. So they're playing the two sides thing, saying that neither one wants to come to a middle ground and agree with what the other one wants to do. So forget it. We're going to throw our toys on the floor and throw a temper tantrum and cry like little babies, because that's American politics these days, Hesher. So no more debates. So the debate that remains is about the last debate and who won. And it would look like the general consensus is Kamala scored a win on that one, Hesher. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Very interesting, and it was The thing about the debates, it's almost like the debates are similar to this whole, recent new accusations or revelations that certain large streamers on X and various places, your what is it, like your Tim Pools, your Benny Johnsons, a couple of people like that, being accused of disinformation and taking money from, some sort of media organization that had ties to Russia or something like that. Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just don't see any of those accounts as being influencers. Maybe they're influential to some people, but like, are they really that influential? I mean, it's same with the debates. Like, is at this point, is Trump or Harris? Is there any influence that it is going to change someone's mind, give them a new political opinion, give them a new political outlook? I'm sure there's a margin of people out there that I haven't met any. I assume they're out there, people that are on the fence, but I have not met any, and I don't see any on social media, anyone admitting, I just haven't decided yet. So maybe the time of presidential debates are just gone. Maybe that was the last one we'll ever have. Maybe it was completely unnecessary. I don't think anyone changed anyone's mind with anything that was said in there. As many people rightly pointed out, it really appeared to be a 3 versus 1 against Donald Trump. The amount of fact checks and topic changes and things like that the moderators were doing were um, very noticeable to people. And I mean, frankly, we're looking at a candidate from the Democrat side who no one voted for. No one voted for Kamala Harris. There was no primary. There was no nothing. No one's really sure who's running the country right now. So maybe we just don't need, if we're not going to have if we're going to have selections rather than elections, maybe we don't need debates. Maybe that's sort of the underlying tone there.
Well, good riddance then, because, ultimately it was kind of a letdown all around. I mean, it was kind of the other thing that emerged from all of this, of course, is the other debate about something that was spoken upon during the debate, and that's whether or not Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio are eating household pets. And it's been a fascinating media you know what show since then. So, and plenty of fun memes involving Trump and artificial intelligently created cats and ducks and dogs. Oh, and songs. I mean, hit songs. Sure, they keep coming. So at least we got that out of the debate. But again, it's just testimony to how much of a clown world all of this really is. I mean, wow, yikes.
Yeah, right? I mean, we spent 3 hours, we're hitting the pause button and inserting commentary. We spent 3 hours covering that, what was it, 90-minute debate or something like that. And some deep conversation associated with all of it, when Kamala actually broke out the Wuhan lab leak concept. That one really made me hit the pause button and just say, wait, what did did I just hear a Kamala Harris, the vice president, come out and endorse Wuhan lab leak? I mean, that was interesting. But it took so long, and there's all this deep coverage we're doing on it. We're talking about the whole COVIDian nightmare and all that. And what we see by the time we wake up the next day is AI LOL cats so have taken over the internet. Pretty amazing to see it come down to that sort of meme warfare level right afterward, and all about you know eating the cats and dogs. That song went mega on X and elsewhere, and it caused a whole like TikTok phenomenon of viral dances and all kind of stuff. And yeah, the still frame and AI video memes of cats has been I don't know, man. I don't know. We've come to some kind of full circle here with the LOL cat
It's
realm.
not helping because I mean it just we're not taking this seriously, right? It's a serious issue at the root of this with the immigration thing and the border and whatever is the problems that are happening in the country of Haiti that led to such a mass amount of them to come here, etc. There's a lot of things to consider and have a very long, serious discussion about with very intelligent folks who know history and geopolitics and all sorts of things that I couldn't even wrap my brain around. But instead, we got to, make a joke about it and create songs on TikTok because we can't take these things seriously. Because as soon as we do, then that means there's going to be real solutions. And so, we can't have that, can we, Hesher? So I think a lot of this stuff is done on purpose, these types of responses. And there was, and the moderators jump in and fact check Trump, like, sir, there's no cats being eaten in Ohio or whatever it is that they said, right? But they failed to fact check Kamala Harris when she claims that there is now, quote, not one member of the U.S. military in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world for the first time this century, end quote. Well, of course, that's not true. The DoD has an official designation of active war zones, and currently that includes, but not limited to, Syria, Yemen, Iraq, and Libya, just to name a few. So I saw a nice little TikTok. I think this was a TikTok thing going around where it was some actual soldiers stationed in one of these places watching Kamala Harris lie about this on the debate, and then they turn their cameras around and they're laughing. They're like, "Well, then where the f are we right now?" And they just start giggling. But we don't take this stuff seriously. I mean, because these are important things that need to be addressed and solutions. But again, we can't have any of that now, can we, Hesher?
Yeah, yeah. And we've lost soldiers. We've lost soldiers in all those places. So, for a presidential slash ABC fact check like that, to come out and just say that like it's fact in the wake of, the loss of American soldiers, many recently, is quite frankly insulting to a lot of Americans. But are the people that are voting for Harris, are they going to fact check her, or are they just going to believe ABC? I assume they're going to believe her and ABC. I did think it was maybe not the best decision for Trump to go after the cats and the dogs. It was still a little fresh, there's still questions about, the origins of all this, what it all means. It was a little bit early to bring that one in, but in full Trumpian style, I guess it definitely caused a bit of a ruckus, didn't it?
It did, and it turns out he was right. So I guess take that with a grain of salt and pepper or whatever it is they like to put on their kitties before they eat them. But yeah, shocking stuff. And again, I've been doing some. I wanted to talk a little bit about this on Boiler Room, but I believe there is a lot going on in the country of Haiti right now that we are involved in. Our
Yes.
country. So I mean, a lot of these problems that are facing these countries that are having mass immigration into our country. When you look at the root of the problem, there we are with our hands in the pie again. Probably groups like the CIA and whatnot. So I'm going to do some more digging into this. I mean, same kind of story with Venezuela, Cuba, Brazil, you name it. All of these countries that keep popping up in the headlines, we had something to do with that at some point in time. Probably
Yeah.
not that long ago, too.
Yeah, same with Ukraine, same with every country in the Middle East, same with Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Syria, Gaza, everything. It's like when and that's the kind of conversation that we're just not gonna find in that, acceptable alternative media, if you will, which exists mostly on X now. For example, last night there was a mega space, a huge space, and it was Mario, and he had. I wasn't able to listen to the whole thing, but I mean the list of people that were talking and were scheduled to talk, some of which I missed. I included Glenn Beck, Eric Weinstein, Jordan Peterson, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr. So and it's interesting to hear that conversation because they're all sort of coalescing now. You've got the Twitter intellectuals, if you will, coalescing around Donald Trump and talking about the unity that is required to save the country, right? A lot of talk about saving the country, saving free speech, saving democracy. um, Yet every single person there, none of them, and they make some great points as it came to, freedom of speech, as it came to censorship, and probably instilled a lot of warm fuzzies in the hearts and minds of everyone from mainstream conservatives to sort of, center right people. But what you just mentioned right there, pretty much not present in the conversation that I heard. You know what I mean? Because if you go to that level of our country and of the Five Eyes and all of their military industrial complexes, and their intelligence communities, and their black ops communities, no discussion about the color revolutions that brought us to all this. No discussion about the arming and training and founding of groups like Hamas and ISIS and the history of that. None of that is present. So, you know, and of course, no criticism of what's going on between Israel and Palestine right now. Uh, so, for that big team up to come out there on X and talk about saving the country. And, I try to not be like, well, you just didn't talk about this. I hate the person that always criticizes, well, you don't talk about this, you didn't talk about that. But what you just brought up there is a big part of understanding the mess that we're in right now. When you talk about saving democracy and saving free speech, while on the same platform, people are being shadow banned or removed for making criticisms of Israel is noteworthy.
Yeah, I mean, we talk all the time about the immigration crisis, but we never talk about what's causing these people to leave their countries. I mean, very rarely, I
Right.
mean, hardly ever, seriously.
Right.
So yeah, instead it's just like, oh well, it's clearly it's the leftist Democrats who are allowing them into our country is the type of talking point you hear here in the American side, and the other side they're like, oh well, this wouldn't be a problem if the Republicans would just play along with us and do X, Y, and Z. So it's just like it's down to this political division thing again, never getting to the root of the problem, sadly.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm gonna play this clip real quick with regard to the eating of the cats. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Let's go ahead and share this one. Play it.
My father immigrated from Haiti to the United States in the 60s as a teenager, and my father immigrated from Haiti to the United States in the late 60s as a teenager, and I want to talk about these recent comments about the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. First, I want to say my father and I are now estranged, but I did know him in my very, very young years. And when he immigrated, he was one person, and they weren't sending, thousands of Haitians in one area. He wasn't eating people's pets, and he didn't practice voodoo. But he did say that most of the island, the majority of the island, does practice voodoo. The reason they eat cats is for two reasons. Number one is survival. This is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. You can't just go to a food bank like you can here, or just go to McDonald's and get some free or cheap food, unless, of course, there's a Christian missionary there. People in the United States have a really hard time imagining that type of thing, but it is true. Second, they do animal sacrifices for their religion, voodoo. They make these animal sacrifices to these gods for different reasons. You can do your own research on this. Do I think voodoo is a demonic religion? Yes, I do. That doesn't mean, obviously, that doesn't mean that you hate these people. These people need prayer. But you can't just take over all these people from another country and expect it to work. Not to mention, it doesn't fix the problems of that country. And there's more people left in Haiti that we can bring over. It's not racist to acknowledge that this is a problem. It's not racist to talk about these things that are happening. This is not just white Americans saying this is Black Americans. You can look at the people in Springfield, Ohio saying that this is happening. Y'all just want to joke about Trump and say that he's crazy for saying that this is happening instead of actually checking at all to see if this is happening. You want to make jokes about these things. Well, what if it were happening to you and your community? And no, it's beyond eating their pets, even though that is bad enough.
Very interesting take from that young woman there. And she makes some good points. So, yeah, it's interesting that this has turned into a joke and a meme farm with AI involved now. It's just the AI insertion is the new factor, I guess. But my goodness, we're at a point now where, you know, someone like that should be being talked to by ABC. ABC might want to contact her, but will they? Of course not.
No, ABC's more interested in seeing this little link that I dropped you, this nice little gem. This is probably the most disgusting example I've ever seen of using a person's death for political purposes. Have you seen this?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I did. Let me put it on the screen here.
Please, everybody, get your vomit bags ready.
Yeah, this is can be found at Zero Hedge, and father of child killed by Haitian migrant says he wishes his son had been killed by a white man. Springfield, Ohio has entered the media spotlight in recent weeks, in large part due to the massive influx of Haitian aliens pouring into the town through the Biden administration relocation programs. Springfield's native born population of 60,000 has been overwhelmed by over 20,000 such immigrants shipped to the area in the span of a couple years. The cultural shock for the locals has been extensive. One tragedy that has resulted from this great replacement was the death of 11-year-old Aiden Clark. The man who killed Aiden Clark is a 36-year-old Haitian named Hermanio Joseph and entered the United States illegally. It happened on the first day of school in 2023 on Route 41. Joseph's vehicle reportedly went left of center, forcing the school bus driver to swerve into the shoulder. The vehicles collided and the bus went off the road down into an embankment and overturning. Aiden was killed when he was ejected from the bus, authorities said, and 26 other students were hospitalized. Aiden's father, Nathan Clark, appeared before the Springfield City Commission at an event organized by local politicians designed to, quote unquote, debunk um, the raising complaints of migrants killing and eating local pets and wildlife. Nathan addressed what he perceived as, quote unquote, hate directed toward the growing immigrant community and said, quote, I wish that my son, Aiden Clark, was killed by a 60-year-old white man. Wow, that is quite a, I don't know. I'm having a hard time even calling it a virtue signal, Ruckus. That's horrible.
It's virtue signal to end all virtue signals. I really hope people stop with this kind of crap. Yeah, he's literally saying, "Oh yeah, no." Instead of again addressing the actual problem, we're just going to politicize this. I mean, but to volunteer that on the death of your son, that's quite sick, my dude. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, I have some choice words that I'm gonna hold back on that one. That's just terrible. That's taking the death of one's son and using it for political fan fiction. Uh, wow, wow. Did someone pay him to make that comment? I wonder, or is he just that virtuous? Are you just that virtuous, sir? My goodness.
We'll never know.
Yeah. Absolutely bananas. Another thing that Trump has always had an open goal on and continues to flub is the whole COVIDian response. And I thought that his comments on COVID were ridiculous and laughable
Indeed.
per
Might want to
usual.
not use that word.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe that's the end of all American debates right there. We'll have to see. According to the luminaries on X, Trump can fix this. That was one question that Mario winged out to everybody, and I thought, Jordan Peterson saying that yes, the Trump administration can come in and fix all this was a pretty big boasting claim for the father of warp speed. But I
Well,
guess we shall see.
Trump
I mean,
Trump is adored like highly in certain circles, Sesher. We'll just put it
yes,
that way.
yes, very interesting to see this. I mean, you know, I'm not taking this coalition, this unity coalition, as you know, the be all end all. But I mean, it is sort of all we have right now, right? Like this is the best we can do is a coalition of, e-celebs basically, some of whom disappeared for a couple of years there when things were at their darkest. Talking to you, Mr. Peterson, telling us that everything's going to be okay. And but Trump did. It's like if he's got this team building around him, why? I was deathly curious about all of the talk of plans for fixing things. Kamala's line seemed to be, "I have a plan for that." Okay, what is it? We'd love to hear what it is because these things have been going on the whole time, even before you got here, and worse while you and Sleepy Joe, Beach Bum Joe, have been in office. So her line is, "I have a plan," and Trump's line seems to be the one that he used just as many times, is "They're destroying our country. We're not going to have a country." That kind of thing, and then we get to the fallout of the whole thing, and we've got cat memes, and we've got the intellectuals on X getting together and talking about how this ticket and the team that they hope that Trump would put together may actually have a means to fight censorship. So I don't know
Just for
about all that.
clarity, who is Mario?
Mario Nawfal is one of those. He is one of the giant Twitter accounts that came to fame after Twitter 2.0, after Elon took over and the Twitter files came out. So he runs a lot of huge spaces, and yesterday's was potentially one of the bigger ones I've seen him do ever. A lot of big
Gotcha.
names on
So
there.
he's Twitter famous or
Twitter
whatever.
famous. Yep, a lot of Twitter fame. Yeah, and former YouTube fame. People that have been canceled from YouTube, of course. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting, man, to see how this all shakes out. We still have the sentencing of Donald Trump coming up at some point for the New York case. So, and not a lot of talk about that happening still. I'm a little surprised there's not a lot of chatter about that. It
I
seems like
see headlines sneaking past my feed, and I just choose not to click on them. But from what from what I can tell, just based on the headlines, things are going Trump's way. I mean, he keeps scoring little minor wins where the people who are pursuing him are like dropping things. Things are just disappearing quietly, and nobody's making a big deal about it, which is funny to me because I guess that makes sense because that was the end all and be all. This was so important. Now it's like, yeah, they're playing the different game now. I guess maybe they really are just going to rig it. Maybe they're so confident with whatever the final outcome is, they don't care about the lawfare stuff anymore. Who knows?
very possible, very possible. Georgia. We've spoken with our friend Garland from voterga.org many times on TNT. And, in Georgia, they've made great strides. I will, take my hat off to Voter GA and Georgia. They've gotten a lot of things in front of courts, and they've gotten some new rules in place that, theoretically should help defend from some of the Dropbox scams that we saw. But I tend to be of that same mindset, Ruckus. These politicians, I mean, look at who the vice presidential pick is. This is a person who participated as fully as your Gavin Newsoms, your Gretchen Whitmers, with all of the policies of that COVIDian era. And it's like many of these people sitting in Congress as governors, in the Senate, and the vice presidential candidate and the presidential candidate should, one would think, after everything we've seen, be ineligible for any position at all, or at the very least the kind of people that would not receive votes to be political figureheads and policymakers. Yet here they are parading around. Tim Walz acting like he's Steve Jobs at a 1999 or 2000 like Apple reveal every time he gets on stage. I mean, this is a guy with an abysmal record. Absolute extremist against the Constitution.
Well, let's not leave Mr. Trump out of this conversation. He's just as guilty of all the same kind of thing. I mean, we've already forgotten now, Hesher, by focusing on how Kamala sneaked her way up into the to be the one on the ticket. Didn't Trump kind of do the exact same thing? He refused to play along with all of the, he did not participate in the democratic process that is usual. Instead, he just rode his coattails and was just presumed to be the nominee, and he ultimately was. But there was no normal process for him either. Same thing with Kamala, just differently. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So they're both guilty of the exact same crap, in my personal opinion. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right here.
No, the fact that he's left the COVIDian topic in the mainstream talking points, and we know because of that leaked phone call with RFK Jr. that he actually thinks, I mean, unless that was some sort of, psyop, if that was a true leak that wasn't supposed to go out, we know what he actually thinks about the stabbies, and it does not fall in line with his public policy, with his comments on warp speed. With, I mean, he did not once mention uh, Bill Gates or Fauci or the WHO, any of those things that are sitting there as ripe fruit for him to pick. And the messed up thing about it to me is his base would agree with him if he said it. You know what I mean? Like, he has the opportunity to say, "Hey, we're not going to let this happen again. We did this wrong. It was dangerous." And X, Y, and Z have been the effect. But no, none of that was brought up. So, ugh, yeah, it seems like the process is for show. It really feels like the whole process is a clown show at this point. So, um, good luck to everybody that's invested in that. Prove us wrong. We'd love to be proved wrong. I guess we can't say anything other than this is the best chance we've got because it's all we got. But it's certainly not what uh, most Americans would choose, I think.
No, neither choice is good at this point. So I don't know. Really feel like a rock and a hard place moment with our two options right now. Again, we always do this to ourselves, don't we? By giving it like, oh well, we have to choose between the two of them. Like we had, I think Bobby Kennedy could have done something as an actual independent. He could have had a chance there as an independent, but since he's a fake one anyways, since oh, I was a Democrat, oh, now I'm an independent, oh, now I'm a Republican, oh, I don't know what I'm going to be tomorrow, so screw that guy anyway. Jeez.
Yeah, well, I love a lot of the things he's said over the years, but the fact that he's got Rabbi Shmuley duct taped to his back pretty much, that really kind of that kills it for me a little bit. I could forgive the stunt with the dead bear. I could forgive all the, brain worms and all this stuff. What's next? Does Bobby Kennedy have anything to do with cats that we need to know about before we go any further in this election cycle?
I'm surprised he has not weighed in on this. Actually, now that you say that, he should probably pop and say, I don't know what the big deal about eating cat is. Cat's delicious.
Dead cats look great on a bicycle, so
I ate cat once.
just goofing, just
It
dead
was in
cat
Haiti. I was on a falconeering trip
goofing.
after doing 50
Right.
push-ups.
Yeah, followed by 100 pull-ups. Yeah, this is going to be really interesting, man, to see where this all goes. I do feel like the fix is in one way or another here, and I could honestly see the deep state choosing either one of them at this point, depending on what's on the the global surprise calendar coming up in the next year or so.
Well, since I too strongly believe that, as evidenced by things that have been happening since the P word, there is a huge war against our freedoms. So if I were to sit back and look, okay, which one of these two as the front person for the next phase of the New World Order's agenda, or whatever we want to call it here, which one is going? It's going to be Trump again. The same way they got away with the P word stuff and the warp speed and all that fun jazz is the same thing they're going to do with the next phase, which is going to be a lot of censorship related stuff, I believe strongly. See, The reason for this is because that their base, for what it's worth, does comprise the vast majority of the people who actually give a crap about freedoms. The leftists are usually generally true believers, believe more in like this communist ideal. Not they don't they're willing to sacrifice their own personal freedoms for the greater good. Patriots, quote unquote patriots, the MAGA folks, the Republicans, the pro-Trump people in general, are the more prone to, hey, wait a minute, you can't tell us what to do. We're Americans. So it's much easier to get them to go along when their figurehead that they love and adore without question tells them, oh, yeah, hey, here's what we're doing. So I really do, again, strongly believe that the ultimate goal is to get Trump back in.
Yeah, it could very well be. I mean, if something big is coming, just like in 2020, if something like that is coming, or a larger conflict, or if things in Europe are going to get worse, things in the Middle East are going to get worse, things here are going to get worse with the all the various machinations of the migrant crisis, the open border. Um, you could just it's really easy to see that they would much rather have that happen under a Trump presidency than a Democrat Party presidency. So, and the polling is pointing towards Trump, even though the debates sort of lean towards Harris. So who knows? Not that we can trust the polling. I mean, ask Hillary Clinton about that, but it does seem like this could go that direction, and that would be very interesting if it does. I feel like if it doesn't, there's going to be an immediate recoiling coming from the conservative incorporated out there, and there will be the rhetoric will climb on the conservative side, and it's going to be 4 more years of this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, if it's going to get bad here in the United States and the economy is going to go bad, real estate goes bad, we lose towns and cities to incidents like we're seeing in Springfield, Ohio. They might much rather have a Donald Trump in office as those things happen.
Yep. Just a theory. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
yeah.
Who
This is
knows?
this is
They
going to
they
be a
could
wait and
just want
see.
everything to go. They could just be serious about. We just want a full on civil war. I mean, you throw Kamala in there, she obviously steals the election. I don't think we're gonna have like another J6. I think we're gonna have another revolution. Is what this country's gonna see, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could go that direction. I mean, there's we've certainly been tenderized to accept the concept of some sort of civil war, or cyber polygon. I mean, former presidents are executive producing movies about that sort of end of the country, which really says something. I don't know. It could just be trolling, but it certainly is foreboding to see that be the case.
Who knows? The internet could go down and then it comes back on, and nobody is aware that the new internet that came back on is all fake, and everybody starts seeing fake announcements coming from Trump. I'm the real president. You see all this Q stuff coming out, but it's all fake, and people start reacting in their little cells across the country. You never know. I mean, things could get really weird. So please use your hearts, your minds, folks. Whatever happens, this could be wild times.
Right, right. And it's like I know we're dealing with LOL cat level AI in the wake of the debate, but this is just a snapshot. This is just a preview. If you look at what the CEOs of these companies are saying, and whistleblowers from these companies that do AI, um, there's something coming, and it is to do with AI. AI has been on the top of the talking presentation points at Bilderberg for I think the last 7 years. We've got an unimaginable amount of resources, time, money, processors, GPUs, CPUs, data centers being stood up right now, that's enabling all of this. So it's not science fiction to speculate about a potential undermining of the internet. And back to the big meeting on X yesterday. For It really seemed like freedom of speech and censorship was sort of their, where they were planting their flag. But I would argue you're a good 8 years late, Twitter intellectuals, to that conversation, because this all started going bad with censorship back in 2017 or so. So to now just finally be bringing a coalition of e-celebs together, to say, hey, this is our greatest danger. It's like, no, 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 no. Our greatest danger right now is exactly what Ruckus just said. It's the undermining of reality by uh AI, by propaganda, by psychological operations, by asymmetric warfare. This is where we're at right now. So the censorship thing it's so far in development, and it's global at this point. I mean, you can't even go on X in Brazil, Pakistan, India. There's like entire places where X is no more. They tried to freeze the bank accounts of X in Brazil, um, and it's like, where why now? It's like the Twitter files came out over a year ago, and to me, it's like, the big threat is the globalist machine, the war machine, the pandemic industrial complex. These are the threats that the WHO, and their whole treaty thing they got working. I mean, what's going on in the Middle East? What's about to, what's going to happen in Ukraine? What's going to happen in Europe? What's going to happen financially? What's going to happen with our finances, our energy sectors? Uh, and we've been, many of us have been censored for talking about those things too soon. Uh, a lot of all these topics we've been covering here at Sunday Wire for years and years and years, and for the Twitter luminaries to come out and say, "Oh, it's all about free speech." Well, yeah, it was, but now that is looking like it is disappearing, because we've got the Canadian, I forget the names of all these acts, but there's one in Canada, there's one in New Zealand, there's one in Australia, there's one in the EU. They tried to set up that disinformation board here in the United States, and that didn't exactly go their way. But I mean, clearly they didn't need it, because
Brazil, aren't they just cutting off the internet, or Elon Musk's X? What are they doing?
yeah, they're banning X, so you won't be able to you won't be able to go to X in Brazil, and you can get in
Well,
trouble
we
for
saw
using
there was another
VPN.
country though we saw recently where they just cut the entire population off from the internet. They said, "Ah, screw this." I forget who
Mhm.
it was now. It was
Yeah.
recent. It was one of these countries.
Hmm. Yeah. So
Freedom,
yeah,
censorship. I
freedom,
mean, freedom
everybody.
of democracy. There you go.
Taste the
That's the word I was
freedom.
looking for.
Support the democracy. Ooh, yeah. So, I don't know where it's gonna go, man. It's gonna be really interesting, and, of course, there's the looming specter of, black swan events, assassination attempts. We still don't know what to make of Trump and his, "It's just the lobe. I heal fast." That whole, "Okay, where is this all going?" I mean, it could be a wild ride, man. And we with the Biden administration and the people on Capitol Hill talk about the defending of the democracy in Ukraine, and if that's their idea of what democracy looks like, and that's what they're trying to defend, well, guess what? The idea of a constitutional America does not fit into that version of quote unquote democracy.
How convenient. Well, I guess America's got to go then, buddy. They're in the way. Yeah, no kidding. No, and we've got like probably the biggest news facing the world right now is the potential World War III thing. I don't know if anybody caught wind that Putin just basically threw his gloves off and said, "That's it. If you guys do this, it's on like Donkey Kong," and he appears to be a bit more serious than usual. And even after that, after all of the debate in America and UK, look at what this guy did. Everyone's favorite Canadian Prime Minister, Trudeau. He was just doing a press conference, and he says he fully supports the use of long-range weaponry against Russia. Well, good for him. I'm glad I didn't vote for that guy. Did you vote for
Yeah,
that guy? Did anyone?
uh, yeah. Well, let's take a look at what Trudeau had to say here.
Vladimir Putin says Russia will be at war with NATO if Ukraine uses long-range missiles deep into Russia. How far into Russia do you think Ukraine should be able to strike?
Vladimir Putin is striking regularly in the heart of Ukraine. He's sending missiles and bombs at hospitals, at daycare centers, at families and communities across Ukraine. And it was his choice to invade a neighboring sovereign nation. His choice to start this conflict, and it could be his choice to end it tomorrow. All he has to do is pull back his troops into Russian territory. But he won't do that. He is not just trying to remove any choice that Ukrainians have around where they want their future to go, remove their independence, remove their sovereignty. He's trying to deeply destabilize the international rules-based order that protects us all, not just in every democracy around the world, but in all countries around the world. Any country with a neighbor with a slightly larger army should be worried if it suddenly becomes allowed to invade and redraw lines on the map. And that's why Canada and others are unequivocal that Ukraine must win this war against Russia. And we will continue to be there to support Ukraine. And yes, Canada fully supports Ukraine using long-range weaponry to prevent and interdict Russia's continued ability to degrade Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and mostly to kill innocent civilians in their unjust war.
All
Alex
right.
has trouble with his English. He speaks better when he does French.
Yeah. Yes, people in the chat rightly pointing out and flagging that rules-based order comment in there. Did the international
Yep.
rules-based order protect us from the COVIDian cult? No. Have they protected us from censorship? No, they have imposed it. So, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And then of course, I'd like to see him back up the comments about daycare centers and hospitals, and then compare those to what we're seeing in Gaza. But of course, that's something we'll never see.
Well, yes, everything he was saying does not apply to in that context, Hesher. That's a whole nother story. That's different.
The ability for people to separate these two conflicts and support one and not support the other, to me, is staggering. It's I
I
always
also
like
liked the
that.
comment about the neighbor getting large and taking land. I thought that was interesting. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, what he's really saying there is, you know, yeah, we're down to have World War III. I mean, why didn't he just say it? Like, we're down for we support the idea of World War III. Because that's, let me change the headline. Let me fix it. Let me translate there. I'm pretty sure that's what he was saying. Am I going too far, or is that what you heard too?
Absolutely, yes. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau fully supports allowing World War III to happen on all of our watch. I don't
Right.
know.
Right. And no F's given about the people of Europe, about the people, his own people in Canada, his own soldiers, our people here in America. Nothing. It's just like, no, and Kamala made a similar statement during the debate. She said, I think the almost quote is, Americans want Ukraine to win this war. So how does that work out? I'm having a hard time finding these Americans too. I see accounts on Twitter that say stuff like that, but I don't run across very much anymore Americans who are,
Well,
gung ho about this.
the people who aren't gung ho, clearly, Hesher, by definition, are not American. So stop being so un American and start supporting the war and supporting Ukraine. All right?
Yeah.
And Israel's right to exist, of course. Don't forget that.
Yeah. One of our users here, one of our regulars, fixed my fixing of that paraphrasing. It would be, I'm down with nuclear war. I've got a bunker. Sucks to be you commoners.
Exactly. That's an excellent point. This is why these guys have such hubris, because it ultimately does not affect them personally. It's really
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah. He has no worries about dying in a nuclear flash. He has no children he's going to be sending to die in trenches, and does not care if you don't have a bunker and don't have the ability to not die in an atomic flash, or if you're sending your kids over there, or maybe you'll be sent there.
Reminds me of all the American civilians, as it were, who are so gung-ho about going to war in foreign lands when they don't have any children and they're not serving in the military themselves. How nice of them to vote for these things and be so gung-ho about it and make a mad rush dash to kill everybody else's sons and daughters in the name of the military-industrial complex. Yay,
Yeah,
America.
right. And like that type of personality you're describing, no idea or no cares about the status of our current veterans here in this country who have fought in places like Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria, and it's just like, these people are being treated so badly. We lose, the estimates are like more than 20 of them a day to suicide. You look at the way they're treated at the VA. You look at the way some of them are demonized if they're public figures for coming out with their personal thoughts on their experience and advice for Americans moving forward when it comes to geopolitical conflict and all. They don't seem to care about that whole mess at all. They just want more of it, I guess, or they don't know that it's happening. Either way, not good.
Yeah, we're at a point now where the people who say they see UFOs get treated better than our own returning home veterans, Hesher.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And people that are transitioning into soldiers in dresses get all kind of press, but the ones that have detransitioned and talked about how awful it was, they get none. They get the censorship ban. They get the ban hammer.
They have freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach, Hesher.
That's right. Yeah, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Um, unless you're Scott Ritter, I guess, then you get extra special treatment, but we won't go there.
Well, hey, you touched upon this briefly, but there's been an update in this censorship attack against these influencers, Russian propaganda, RT. The United States has now officially announced sanctions against RT, and it's rifled a few Russian feathers. I have an official statement here. I'm going to send you a link from RT. From Maria Zakharova. I love saying that name. Here's what she thinks about the new sanctions against RT. It's fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. U.S. has declared war on free speech out of Russia. The U.S. crackdown on Russian media amounts to a declaration of war on free speech. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Sunday. She described the new sanctions against RT and other news outlets as repressions unprecedented in scale. So, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, one of the four horsemen, announced new sanctions against RT on Friday, accusing it of engaging in covert influence activities and functioning as a de facto arm of Russian intelligence. Earlier in September, Washington imposed sanctions on RT editor in chief Margarita Simonian and three other senior RT employees over alleged attempts to influence the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Again, who are they influencing? Where is this influence? Where are these people that said, I was going to vote for Kamala Harris until I saw this RT report, or until I heard that my boy Tim Pool got money from a company that took money from RT? Where are these people? Who are you influencing? I do not understand. It's as ridiculous as Cozy Bear and Fancy Bear and the Slovakian or Slovenian Facebook ads that they said were influencing people. Methinks they don't understand influence, Ruckus.
It sounds a lot more like this projection thing going on. Gee, wait a minute. Some sort of country's media in a country functioning as a quote unquote de facto arm of their intelligence. Wow, boy, that sounds like somebody else I know. Who could it be? Oh, that's right, the mass media cartel right here in the United States of America. How are things working out for you with your BBC and all that fun stuff in the UK, everybody? What nonsense for them to make this accusation just because it happens to be Russian. How silly. This is a joke.
Absolute ridiculousness. And as far as I can tell, the only topic that these people are critical of is the war in Ukraine. Generally, the war in Ukraine. Stuff that they would have been saying anyways, because it's so obvious to anyone with any sort of, that wants America to have any sort of fiscal responsibility and stable relations with other countries. Nobody is behind this at this point. They spent
But
200 billion of our dollars on this thing, and they expect people to be like, yeah, we support this. I mean, it's ludicrous.
with that much money invested in it, Hesher, we can't just back out now, can we? I mean,
That's not.
yikes. Listen, what was I? Oh crap! What was I gonna say? Darn it! I totally lost my train of thought here. Sorry about that. That happens.
That's all right. That's all right. But it's like, one of the things that what you were starting to say made me think was, never mind the foreign media supporting other people in other countries. Like, what about the intelligence agencies? What about the military industrial complex? What about the black bags of millions and billions of dollars that go to places that Americans aren't even told about, like Taliban warlords in Afghanistan to the tune of $68 million per day. I mean, what about the colored revolutions that CIA and others have done, along with our own senators and stuff like that? We had Graham and McCain mucking around in Ukraine during the Maidan and the lead up to the Maidan. We got Victoria Nuland, F the EU, Victoria Nuland. I mean, are those not much more egregious than like some money going to some podcasters who just happen to not support a particular conflict?
Well, isn't this where like a well-regulated militia of media folks, i.e., journalists, actual what the media was supposed to do and be set for? Aren't we journalists all supposed to be out there like hunting down for the answers to these questions, holding our government to task and to account? Yeah, this is what happens when it turns into a giant propaganda machine that's controlled from top to bottom. We don't. This is what the news was supposed to do. The news was not only supposed to inform us; it was supposed to help us arm ourselves and protect ourselves against a tyrannical government out of control. And it's far too late to put that genie back in the bottle. That's why the solution, the antithesis to this, is what we do: the independent media, the alternate media, all that fun stuff. So. Yeah, I know what I was thinking of, Hesher. We've seen this Russia propaganda, the Russia Gate, Russia thing multiple times now. Pretty much as soon as I took over my first Twitter account, which I adopted from somebody else, I was immediately labeled as a Russian bot before anyone knew what that was. So we've been exposed to this for quite some time now. But if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time when our country or any country is treating these things as though it's war. Because they only issue sanctions like this against a wartime enemy. So, but we're not at war with Russia, are we? At least that's what I thought. But we're acting right in your face. We're issuing sanctions against a media, and but don't worry, that's a private company. Oh, but not by their argument. It's acting as an arm of the government. That's why they're issuing sanctions. This is crazy. I think we've probably already started World War III like a few weeks ago. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah, yeah. The head of the State Department's Global Engagement Center, the GEC, which, by the way, had an office in Building 7 on 9/11. James
How about
Rubin.
that?
Yeah, how about that? Anyway, head of that department, James Rubin, told reporters on Friday that the broad scope and reach of RT was one of the reasons many countries around the world did not support Ukraine. The GEC has funded propaganda games aimed at children and forced Twitter to censor quote unquote pro Russian content. Rubin admitted last year that he wanted to use the GEC to shut down Russian media outlets around the world. So again, I mean, they're saying it out loud. They're saying the quiet part out loud there. It, RT, they're blaming RT for not supporting Ukraine. It's like, Are you kidding me? Like, you can't place that blame on RT. I'm sorry. It's much bigger than people, it doesn't even allow people to have an anti-war stance, to have that sort of propaganda games coming down from the Global Engagement Center.
Yep. It's pretty wild, man. I mean, it's too much for me sometimes. And I was thinking about, this whole propaganda thing. Actually, I'll find it. We'll have to play this before the close of the show at some point. But Patrick had posted something on his Twitter feed, which was a wonderful example of exactly how propaganda works in Israel. And how the way they portray Palestinian people as Arabs and as characters, just the way they do it. And when you look at it, this sizzle reel that he had put up there, it really it all makes sense. And you see that same kind of thing to a certain degree out here in Western media, but nobody does it quite the way Israel does. So that's all I'm going to say. It's pretty wild stuff. But propaganda is very dangerous. It's very deadly, and it needs to stop. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah. Well, the Smith-Mundt Reformation Act kind of took that idea away from us, at least in a ceremonial way, a legal way. It was still happening, but it has certainly ramped up since the Obama era, that's for sure. And it's you know what I mean? It's like we're quite literally at a point now where if you're in a Western country and you don't support whatever war they're trying to support or start or engage in, then somehow you're not patriotic, or you're racist, or you're a terrible political being of hatred or something like that, because you don't support the sending of bombs and lives into those bombs. Pretty crazy stuff. Oh yeah, this is a good one. I remember this. I got your link there. Let me bring it up, Ruckus.
Cool.
Patrick writes about this link. What kind of society or country produces this type of pathological behavior? Colonial settlers and their children gloating over the mass murder and suffering of the native population. People should take a minute to reflect on what is shown in this video. The level of rank inhumanity on display here by various Israelis is unprecedented, yet only the tip of the iceberg. It is surely indicative of a deeply corrupted and sick society, one which sadly enjoys the full and unconditional backing of the US, UK, and EU. Let's watch this video here. Oh, this is going to hurt. I can tell already.
You've probably asked yourself, how does someone react to genocide? Like this. The answer is they've been conditioned to, and it starts in their education system. Here are 3 examples of how Israel teaches the dehumanization of Palestinians. According to this Israeli professor's research, Israeli textbooks show Palestinians, or Arabs as they're called, as caricatures of primitive farmers, hordes of refugees, or they're masked and painted as terrorists.
You cannot find one photograph of a human being who is a Palestinian.
And it might explain how you end up with videos like this.
We need to kill Arabs.
The way they are represented are as the problems and threats. And since they never or hardly ever meet Palestinians face to face or speak to them, although they may live 50 to 100 meters from them, this is what they know.
If you type map of Israel in Hebrew into Google, this is what you'll get. Notice how a lot of these maps have no clear markings showing the occupied West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, all of which are internationally recognized as illegally occupied Palestinian territories. You'll also find this map in Israeli textbooks. It's how you end up with illegal settlers colonizing more and more Palestinian land, claiming it's their God-given right.
It's what you see, it belongs to Israel.
And it's how you end up with scenes like this.
You have this necklace?
That's Palestine, yeah.
This is Israel.
Students in Israel are taught about the Holocaust starting in nursery school all the way to the 12th grade. Part of that learning is looking at horrifying images or exercises that encourage students to put themselves in the shoes of the victims and relate to the experience. The identification of students with the victims isn't a coincidence. It's an intentional policy by the Israeli Ministry of Education. It's how you end up with a society where, according to one Israeli professor, every Jewish Israeli citizen is a Holocaust survivor or a potential victim of future Holocaust-like events.
The goal is traumatization and revenge, and not to let the fire of vengeance die out. However, this vengeance is not directed towards the German persecutors and their collaborators in Europe, but towards Palestinian colonized subjects who are Nazified.
The fact that Palestinians had nothing to do with the Holocaust and that they are the ones currently being exterminated seems to be irrelevant. With this weaponization of the Holocaust, Zionism isn't seen for the settler colonial racist ideology that it is, but as the savior of the Jewish people. And it's this thinking and this fear that is weaponized to justify the violence of the Zionist state. That it must exist and do whatever is necessary to defend itself so that another Holocaust would never happen again. That's how you end up with videos like this.
It is a terrorist organization which murders Jews because they're Jews.
Once the Jewish people were defenseless, no longer.
So why does this matter? Israelis spend 12 years in this education system, teaching them to dehumanize Palestinians and see them as people looking to eliminate Jews, not an oppressed, colonized people looking for freedom. And once they graduate, most Jewish Israelis will go straight to the military to do their 2 to 3 years of mandatory service, where they become the front lines of apartheid and occupation. That's how we end up with videos like this. So why do all this? Well, Israel can only exist as a Jewish state if it manages demographics to maintain a Jewish majority. And it does so by displacing, imprisoning, and murdering Palestinians routinely. And the only way to get Jews to participate in this is by convincing them that it's the only way for them to exist safely. Seeing Palestinians as people who want to live in peace and be free doesn't fit into that plan. Subscribe.
Wow. Yeah. Modern propaganda, my friends.
How come more people aren't taught about this in our own education system? How come our own news media doesn't cover this? Very strange questions, people. With very obvious answers, of course, sadly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm constantly reminded of this meme that our friend Creative Accidents likes to share among, I'm pretty sure he's one of the people I know who shares this quite frequently, a screenshot of somebody standing in jeopardy, and it says, "This powerful group will destroy you if you accuse them of being a powerful group." And he's just got this very nervous look on his face. But yeah, that's the world we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so frustrating, you know. I mean, we get our own version of that here in the United States, but it's not anything like that. It's I think ours comes it used to come a lot from school, but I think schools are more interested in just churning out the most drone like unintelligent, non-critical thinking people as possible that are focused on their genitals and their fast food. That really seems to be what American schools are trying to churn out now. But if you're a Gen Xer or older, you know, they wheeled the TV in and made you watch Schindler's List, and they gave you, you know, the state version of World War II history. And churches also, many of the churches here in the United States have taken up that torch for putting, you know, these kind of thoughts in people's heads. And yeah, unfortunately, a lot of, you know, it seems like the hope is that people that had school, you know, Gen X and above that had school that actually, you know, wanted people to learn critical thinking and would give us some semblance of, you know, history and World War II are gone, and those days are gone. And now we're, in a world of where the military age people are all going to be influenced by TikTok and social media and other things. So who knows? This could all become forgotten history real soon if the global population doesn't wake up and say, no, we don't want these wars, we don't want ethnic cleansing, we don't want genocide, we don't want World War III. It's 2024. We live in the 21st century. These things should be relics of the past. But of course, the ghouls in the military industrial complex and the Five Eyes countries are not keen on letting us have a future that is one that exists based in freedom and harmony and the ability to create better things than we grew up with.
Yeah, and to be fair, obviously, we are propagandized quite heavily as well. Every country is, especially as far as like we're all grown up in our countries, generally led to believe that we're the greatest country, we're the best. We had a problem with that here in America, and particularly for the longest time. I'm sure Britain, the same kind of thing. But like American exceptionalism was definitely the product of a lot of propagandizing coming from the education system, television, movies, and whatnot. But then that shifted during our time to where it was like we were shifting our goals. It's a small world after all, Hesher. I mean, it was a lot of more focus on this globalization kind of stuff, and then now the stuff that the kids are. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. It's the textbooks are just straight from the pits of hell, from what I can gather, with all this weird stuff now. I don't know what they're teaching the kids. I think they're teaching them to be victims. I think they're teaching them to hate themselves and to hate this country, which is setting the stage to be destroyed from within. Very much a communist kind of thing. I agree with the conservative media in American politics talking point about that. It's very clear. But the education, the propagandizing has changed. It's shifted its goal, but we've always been propagandized through our education system. That's why you should homeschool your kids.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I don't even know if they're using books anymore. I feel like they're just bringing in
Books,
YouTube
what are that?
videos and tablets and what are these dusty old books? We don't need those anymore. We can't erase stuff that's in the books. We need stuff we can erase stuff from and add stuff to. So,
No wonder the kids are unhealthy, Hesher. We were fit because we had to carry all those heavy books all the time, remember?
right? They even made us put brown paper bag covers on them. You couldn't even bring your book into class unless you had protected its illustrious cover from
You were required to kill an entire Amazonian forest and cover your textbooks. It was awful. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I always kind of like that day of school when you get to cut out your bag and cover all your books. Although I hate the feel of brown paper bags. I never liked that aspect.
Terrible. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. But at least
But
you could draw on them and decorate them and stuff. It
yeah.
was cool.
And you pull them in and out of your bag all year, and all of a sudden they get that kind of patina. They don't become so scratchy, so they get nice eventually.
Become nice and smooth.
The good old days, kids. Back when we was young, we had books in school. Yeah.
Where we're
So,
headed, there are no schools.
oh yeah. Don't get us started on schools while we're talking about Gaza or hospitals. But yeah, it's pretty amazing to see the globalist machine, the state, the war machine, essentially do generational propaganda on people all around the world, and this is the outcome. This is the outcome. We're looking at potentially um, something terrible. We are seeing something very terrible in the Middle East. We've seen a lot of terrible things in the Middle East, and the propagandists, they work in reverse too. They don't want us to know that Libya has an open human slave trade now after what the Clinton gang did there. They don't want us to see, any of these things. So, they feed us like you were saying, you made a really good point there about what the actual message is for young people. And all people, I suppose, now that everybody's watching the same streaming services and the same YouTubes and all that stuff, is essentially a victim slash victimizer narrative. It's like the governments of the world, the propagandists have to be in control of all narratives. and the most important ones to them are narratives that are associated with victim/victimizer, and that goes into the critical race theory and everything else that we're being, beer bonged into the third eye by the mass media.
Yes, sir. Wow, there's so much going on in the world today. It's overwhelming sometimes, isn't it? Sure, this is too much for me to
Yeah,
bear. I think
yeah,
it's going to
absolutely.
get worse. The whole world pretty much entered the weekend holding its breath, wondering whether or not, well, is this it? Is this World War III? Roger Waters put out an emotional thing on his Twitter or X account just the other day, begging, pleading, please let's not do this. This is because we are that close. That's how serious everybody is taking this whole threat from Putin. So I don't know. But it's only halfway through Sunday now, so who knows? It might still happen. But if we make it into next week, man, I can't even. I don't even know what's going to happen next, Tesher. I mean, is it time for aliens? Maybe it's time for aliens. I don't know. But a lot of big news. I don't know where you want to go with
Well,
this because there's a lot of headlines.
let's take a look at Putin's commentary, just so we can put that up against Trudeau.
The people will have to read along.
Yeah, this is a read along one, so we'll paraphrase it for you audio listeners at the end here. But for the viewers out there, this one is subtitled. So put your eyeballs on the screen, and here we go.
В последние дни мы видим и слышим, как на очень высоком уровне Великобритании и США муссируется тема о том, что киевский режим сможет наносить удары вглубь территории России западными вооружениями большой дальности. И, судя по всему, это решение либо вот-вот будет принято, либо, судя по всему, вообще уже принято. И эта вещь, конечно, экстраординарная. Хотелось попросить прокомментировать то, что происходит.
Происходит попытка подмены понятий, потому что речь не идет о разрешении или запрете киевскому режиму наносить удары по российской территории. Он и так наносит с помощью беспилотных летательных аппаратов и другими средствами. Но когда речь идет об использовании высокоточного оружия большой дальности западного производства, это совершенно другая история. Дело в том, что я уже об этом говорил, и любые эксперты это подтвердят, и у нас, и на Западе, наносить удары современными высокоточными системами большой дальности западного производства украинская армия не в состоянии. Она не может этого делать. Это возможно только с использованием разведданных со спутников, которыми Украина не располагает. Это данные только со спутников или Евросоюза, либо на Соединенных Штатах, в общем, с натовских спутников. Это первое. Второе, и очень важное, может быть, ключевое, заключается в том, что полетные задания в эти ракетные системы могут, по сути, вносить только военнослужащие стран НАТО. Украинские военнослужащие делать это не могут. И поэтому речь идет не о том, чтобы разрешать украинскому режиму наносить удары по России этим оружием или не разрешать. Речь идет о том, чтобы принять решение о том, что страны НАТО напрямую участвуют в военном конфликте или нет. Если это решение будет принято, это будет означать не что иное, как прямое участие стран НАТО, Соединенных Штатов, европейских стран в войне на Украине. Это их прямое участие. И это уже, конечно, существенным образом меняет саму суть, саму природу конфликта. Это будет означать, что страны НАТО, США, европейские страны воюют с Россией. А если это так, то, имея в виду изменение самой сути этого конфликта, мы будем принимать соответствующие решения, исходя из тех угроз, которые нам будут создаваться.
Okay, so if you're watching along, you saw what he said, but if you're listening to the audio podcast, he's pointing out that the essence of this conflict will change if there are long-range missile capabilities added to Ukraine. He says they're already using, drones and things like this to do these kind of strikes. That doesn't necessarily change the essence of the conflict, but that these long-range missiles require satellites and intelligence and other assets that only NATO can provide to use these systems. So he pointed out that Ukraine cannot do this without that. And it's not about deciding whether NATO countries are in a military conflict. It's the direct participation of NATO and EU in this conflict, and it will change the very essence of the conflict, as it would mean that EU countries are at war with Russia. To paraphrase, did I do the paraphrasing okay there, Ruckus? Yeah.
Yes, this is why it's different than last time. You did very good job there, Senor. But yeah, because if a NATO country, let's just say the United States, now let's pick on Canada.
Yeah, since
So
Trudeau's
Canada
got such
says,
big words.
yeah, why not? Let's nuke Trudeau for fun's sake in this little scenario. They are a NATO member as well, correct? Yeah, of course they are. So a NATO member country is providing intelligence from like a base located in Alberta, Canada, in this case, Canada. And they got some people working there, work for their military, and they're working on their computers. And what they're doing is physically linked to long-range missile attacks happening in that country. Russia could say, okay, well, for us to stop this particular type of attack, we need to take out that little base center in the middle of Alberta, Canada, that little computer with that little team there. And that's fair game now, is what he's saying. And then once that happens, remind me again about this whole Article 5 thing with NATO and how that plays out, Hesher. Oh, yeah, World War III, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does start to look like that real quick here. And so to see, Trudeau's response to those comments being what they were, and knowing that he's not making those responses without, his collaboration with the other NATO countries, it really says a lot. It's a dangerous
And
game
that's a
that
piss
they're
poor
playing.
example, and that's not what Russia would do. They're not going to send missiles to Alberta, Canada. But let's say they do determine that I can see cyber attacks. I can see that this is the next phase of this war moving forward. Now, I really think this is setting the narrative for that, and enter this whole cyber polygon thing. I mean, that's probably the big elephant. That's the next big shoe to drop, I guess. Is we're going to probably be cut off from the internet for a while, cut off from information, cut off from our banking, probably, that kind of thing. That's probably what I'm anticipating sometime before the elections, sadly.
Yeah, and then there's the factor that both Canada and America and South American countries, for that matter, all have a open border policy right now. There are millions of people flooding into the country from over 100 different countries. We don't know who these people are. So, I mean, what does that tell us? That NATO governments are willing to start a larger conflict with a global superpower while they have, all these people from all these places flooding into their own countries. You, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, forgive the pun, to imagine how that could go badly quickly on home soil. If you're whether that's Canada or whether that's the United States or Poland. I mean, who knows? They're putting these missile batteries all over the place. So this could, who knows? I mean, it could be, I don't know, maybe it'll get launched from like Estonia or Latvia or something like that. There's um this all takes me back to Putin's comments that he made when this special military operation started. It was not, it was about encroachment. It was largely about NATO encroachment. And what does NATO do? Well, they encroach a little bit further and threaten with long range missile systems.
Putin called it a war this time too, by the way. Did you notice that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're out of
Weird.
special military operation territory here in his rhetoric. That's interesting. That's a good thing to
Because I
flag up.
don't think the war he was referring to was with Ukraine. I think that was a direct threat. That's just the way I took it.
I mean, it
But I
sounded
don't know.
that way. It sounded that way. He's been very careful to talk about it as a special military operation for some time now, and his rhetoric changed as our actions changed, as NATO's actions changed. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in a more vulnerable position than we've been in thus far during this conflict.
Which
And
sucks for Ukraine because, if Ukraine's going to need all the help it can get, but I mean, we can spare nothing for Israel, so they're still going to get secondhand scraps.
right,
So sorry, Ukraine. Sucks to be
right.
you.
Yeah, and the death toll just mounts, and we're seeing types of warfare that you would not expect to see in the 21st century. Trench warfare, in many cases.
Drones dropping napalm. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
Holy
did.
moly. Wow.
Napalm and
Yeah, not cool.
thermite drones. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's
That's what it was. The thermite. Thank you. I
yeah.
misspoke.
I mean, it's very similar, very similar. Hot death from above, and
I'd probably take the napalm over the thermite.
oh gosh. Can we just like not destroy human bodies with napalm and thermite and subsonic weapons,
You got to be
bayonets and
careful with that
trenches?
thermite, Hesher. That stuff will take down a couple tall buildings, according to some people. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm surprised Kamala didn't bust out a 9/11 thermite conspiracy theory since she's throwing the Wuhan lab one around. But yeah, we did have an extensive conversation about 9/11 in the boiler room this week on the Thursday show. We did a Tuesday show and a Thursday show. So on the Thursday show, we had quite a bit of reflection on 9/11 at the as it was the day after the 23rd anniversary of 9/11. Um, yeah, that was interesting, Ruckus, kind of going down the memory hole there about 9/11. Saw a little bit of resurgence in the socials this week on that, but per usual, a day of pomp and
All I'll say
circumstance.
is
That's most you're going to get.
thanks mostly to artificial intelligence and people's creativity and Elon Musk owning the X platform. This year's 9/11 was particularly spicy with the memes, and I will probably never look at the term dancing Israelis the same ever again.
Oh yeah, yeah, no kidding. We did an extensive look at the dancing Israelis when we were talking about 9/11, and there's a great article at 21stcenturywire.com that you might want to revisit. It's called "The Five Dancing Israelis: Declassified FBI Files Reveal New Details of 9/11's Cover-Up." This was put out on September 11th, 2015. So this is been up on the site. It's by Greg Fernandez Jr. And it goes in great detail into the events of that day as they pertain to the five Israelis. Um, so I recommend getting out there and giving that a read. There's also, of course, James Corbett's videos had a resurgence. He's done some great 9/11 videos. They had a resurgence this 9/11 this anniversary. So it was kind of nice to see that getting out, pumped back out into the zeitgeist.
Jason Burmis, Loose Change, Fabled Enemies, again, all
Yeah, yeah.
resurged.
Jason Burmis, yep, definitely. He played a clip from Fabled Enemies on
Heard a small amount of people discussing Dr. Judy Wood. That was
yep,
fascinating too. Yeah, that
yep.
was
Where
neat.
did
Where
the
did the
towers
towers
go?
go?
Yep.
Because that is, of course, still the biggest question that remains. Where did they
Mhm.
go?
Yeah, yeah. So that was an interesting conversation, and shouts out to everybody that was in that with us and that watched and listened, and people out there on the socials that are not going to let this one go away. They say never forget on a lot of accounts, and I always like to just add never forget they lied to you as the main thing, because we still don't know where those towers went and where those other five buildings went. A lot of people don't talk about building 4, building 6, the damage that those had. Just absurd to think that that happened because of office fires from jet fuel in a different building. But to counterbalance that, I did see some of those. I'm not going to name any, but I did see some of those ex-famous people out there clowning on folks that don't believe the original NIST story. And to them, I just say, wow, get out of here. You're so far behind the curve.
Planes can so take down those buildings.
Very logical. Very, very logical. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here, Ruckus. What else do we got that we should cover this week?
Oh, jeez, you're leaving this to me. All right. I don't know. Venezuela, there's some stuff going on there. There's been some stuff going on there. Right. Two things. Uh, Number one, in the country of Venezuela, of course. Did you catch this little headline? I caught this one. I saw this everywhere, but I'm just have RT in front of me. Sorry, Russian propaganda. I know, but you'll find this on the mainstream outlets. But Venezuela is claiming that they foiled a CIA plot to kill Maduro. This is great. Did you see this one?
No, I didn't see that yet.
Here, I'll drop you the link on that. And it's interesting that that we're still talking about things happening inside the country of Venezuela when here, domestically at home, Venezuela, before the Haitian immigrant thing, has been the big talk of the immigration problems because apparently there have been a number of apartment complexes that have been run over by the TDA, the Tres de, I forget their full name. What is it? Tren de Aragua. It's a Venezuelan prison gang or something like that. So it's interesting that we've got like this dichotomy. There's things happening in the country. They had like a contested presidential election in July, if I'm not mistaken. Maduro was reelected for the third time. Of course, they're saying, "Oh no, the other guy won," and we had our fingers in the pie as we always do. And now this. Now they say that there was a CIA plot to actually off the guy. Do you think there's anything to this?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. They say that he was reelected for that third term with 52% of the vote. Nice margin there. Sounds very similar. Yeah, hard to say with the CIA op. It begs more questions than answers for me.
Okay, cool. Well, and our problems at home are not going to get any better related to this. Apparently, it's about to get all crazy in Colorado. So, shout out to the listeners in Colorado. Hold on to your butts. According to Daily Mail, there is a retired immigration and customs enforcement official who's warned in a shocking interview that Venezuelan prison gangs are quickly setting up their network in preparation for all-out gang wars on America's city streets and in neighborhoods. According to unclassified documents from just days ago, coming from the U.S. Army North Division, it warned that thousands of Tren de Aragua gang members, some of which are heavily armed, have spread across America. According to Daily Mail, quote, Tren de Aragua has unleashed a crime wave from Miami to New York, but for the first time, law enforcement officials are revealing what TDA's future plans are, end quote. Oh, you don't say. Well, according to journos from Daily Mail, they spoke with John Fabricatori, who's a retired ICE field office director for the Denver region. He revealed, quote, there's about to be a big gang war. He says, quote, I believe that they're setting up their network right now. These guys are setting up faster than MS-13 did. They're getting into these apartment complexes, and what they're doing is they're starting with prostitution, end quote. Wow. And it goes on from there. But yes, so things could get very interesting this week, Hesher. Wow. You ready for a big gang war?
I saw footage of some American gang, former gang bangers, I guess, was the impression I got, going out and bullhorning some of these apartment complexes and telling them, hey, we invented gang warfare, guys. We're here to put you on notice. You're getting out of our country. So, I mean, yeah, it's we're being set up for something here that does not look like it's going to turn out very well. And it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but it's interesting because we've been hearing rumblings for months now that Venezuela has emptied their prisons and sent their worst people over the border into America. And I'm sure if
We
that had
call them
come up,
asylum seekers, please.
yeah, asylum seekers. I mean, right, asylum. I'm sure if that had come up during the debate, that the ABC presenters would have fact checked Donald Trump on that. But it does appear with these new developments that this is going to be the official line. This is going to turn into a verified situation, and we can look forward to some salacious headlines and events that may or may not start in Aurora or elsewhere in Colorado.
Yep. And I mean, sure, it's terrible that Haitian immigrants are eating household pets or whatever, but that's just that's nothing. That's Sesame Street compared to a gang war. You want to be messing with these people who are heavily armed and they want to start some, you know what? Come on, this is getting nuts, Hesher. This is really getting quite ridiculous. I don't know what the end result of this is going to be, but. They didn't mention Venezuela at all during the debate. No, we're going to worry about the cats and the dogs. And we get songs out of it. I hope we don't get songs when some Venezuelan gang banging war takes the lives of like innocent children. We're not going to make a song about it on TikTok, I hope. I sure hope not. But anyway, maybe we will. We don't take anything seriously, as I said.
Yeah. Well, we'll hold on to that hope and see if it's not dashed in the next months here or weeks. This whole thing is it really does look to be very, very Hegelian in tactic. This weapons of mass migration leading to scenarios like this and vignettes like we're seeing with the cats and the dogs and the Haitians. I mean, this is only beginning if this is how we're going to mainstream what has been done with the open border.
And then I guess one other thing of note, because there was a person who used to be in the news quite frequently until recently. Dude just completely vanished. And everyone was wondering what happened to that guy. Where is he at? What guy is? Oh, that's the guy who's supposedly, allegedly in charge of the country, our president, Joseph Biden, who was only seen just barely recently doing a 9/11 event. Do you have that video? I bet you do.
Somewhere buried in my tabs, I do.
Oh no! Yeah, he decided to go out and do the thing, which was respect. He did he's doing 9/11. At least that's what he said.
Doing
During some
9/11.
comments that pissed off some people. Of course, yeah, we're doing 9/11. But he went out and he did 9/11, and part of doing 9/11 was he was doing a little tour, a little speaking thing, visiting with some firefighters out in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. And he had a run-in with a dude with a hat, and the hilarity ensued, and almost broke the internet. Actually,
yes, I actually have it right here. Let's take a look at this. This was I don't even know how to qualify this. I'll just share it.
We will say this is real, not fake. We've vetted this.
This is actual footage.
Trump, I'll give you my presidential hat. Presidential seal on it. You want to autograph it? Oh, sure, I'll autograph it. Huh? Yeah. You remember your name? I don't remember my name. I'm slow. You're an old part. You're an old part. Yeah, I know, man. I'm an old guy. And you're an old person. I know you would know about that. What? About being old. Oh, I know. All right. I'm a young timer. He reminds me of the guys I grew up with. There was always one in the neighborhood. Well, I'm the only one. There you go, man. I need that hat. Want my autograph? Hell no. You know my name. Come on. I ain't going that far. Yeah. You would do a selfie. There you go. Hey, I'm proud of you now. Just remember, no eating dogs and cats. Hey, they're good. Thank you. They're good. Kentucky Fried Chicken. I hope you like the pizza. You guys picked the place together. I don't know where it's not easy.
Wow. Do you remember your name? Oh, wow. I don't even. That's.
I was waiting for him to say Brandon.
Brandon, yeah, sign it, Brandon, would you? And then for the audio listeners out there, if you haven't seen this clip, Biden actually takes this man's Trump hat and puts it on. So there you go. There's finally video footage of. I guess does Biden support Trump? They did him so dirty. He's now MAGA. Biden's gone MAGA, perhaps.
Probably, yeah, yeah. He know. I mean, he's no fool. He acts like a fool, but he knows he shouldn't have put that hat on. He knew would have happened. So yeah, I think that was a. You know what? I'm doing this. I think I think you're right. I think he was feeling a little bit of the sting from the democratic process from the
Yeah.
Democrats.
Yep, a little bit of Pelosi goofing there, Schumer goofing, Harris goofing, or just the musings of the senile old
If I
man.
were Trump, I would just take that photo of Biden with the Trump hat and just use that exclusively from now until the election. That's all you need. That's it.
Right?
Period.
Yep, just that still footage of Biden with the MAGA hat. I mean, that pretty much should clinch it. I mean,
And
I
then
think
in
they
the
may
little
have just
fine print that says Joe Biden does not necessarily endorse Donald Trump. Whatever they need to do for legal purposes.
Yeah, I think we should get campaign jobs with Trump at this point. You just came up with something that could break the internet and win the election for Donald Trump right there.
It's absolutely gold. It's good stuff. It's almost as good as the family members of Walls supporting Trump.
Oh yes, Tim Walz, the Tim Walz family members, like 8 of them, 8 or 9 of them, not all of them, only 8 or 9, wearing the Walls for Trump shirts was noteworthy also.
I think Tim used to do that too until Kamala tapped him, and he was, oh yeah, I guess I better quit this nonsense.
Yeah, had to pick up a new persona real quick here. He's gone for tech nerd wannabe.
Wow, Hesher, that's par for the course. This flip flop, this 360 kind of thing. Hey, speaking of that, you're gonna love this one. This one was pretty quick. Let's see here. Kamala Harris during the debate said, and she was quite demeaning to people the way she said this. She's like, "Oh, both me and Tim Walz are gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. You better stop with that nonsense." Just 3 days later, here is a tweet or a post on X from Vice President Kamala Harris's official account. Congress must renew the assault weapons ban. 3 days, Kamala? Really? That could possibly be the fastest flip-flop in political history. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Yeah, that really that nudged people in the wrong way when she said that. I noticed Coleon Noir was on YouTube like within hours after the debate. And he had, multiple pieces of footage of her talking about, renewing the assault rifle ban, which, by the way, is looking more and more difficult because of the recent actions of the Supreme Court. But, of course, she's talked about going after the Supreme Court also. So that's one thing. And Biden likes to talk about that too. He likes to smirk and make veiled threats to the Supreme Court and to the American people about potentially packing the Supreme Court. But yeah, there on Coleon's video, he's got 5, 6, 7 pieces of video footage of her talking about banning AR-15s, which I think they've sold more than 18 million of those in the last decade or so here. So it is one of the most common, if not the most common, sporting rifle in the United States. And yeah, so that was a fun one too, a fun little Kamala piece that could and should have been fact checked if ABC was being honest about their fact checks, which we know they're not. But it was a great illustration of the.
I'd like to know what guns they own. She says her and Tim both own guns. What do you
I would
own,
too.
Kamala? What do you got? What do you got
What are
shooting?
you rocking? What are you
When's
rocking?
the last time you went to the range? Huh?
Yeah, I want to know. Is she like Tulsi? Does she have an AR-15? Kind of doubt it. Kind of doubt she's ever shot one, but hey, what do I know?
He's like, oh, I got this old like relic Dillinger revolver thing. It's like it doesn't even work, but I own one. I'm a gun owner.
Yeah, black powder musket. We'd
Tim's like, I got a super soaker with pepper spray. I use it to shoot people who aren't wearing masks and standing 6 feet away in 2019, 2020.
That's right. That's a little too.
I'm a gun owner.
You scraped the bone there. Gun owner. Right. Okay, guys. Okay. Well, one thing we know is that their security details got access to any kind of guns they want to rock for their security details. So
Whether or not they know how to holster it depends on whether or not if they are a DEI hire, of course.
yeah, there's that. There's that. I think they give all those ones to the Trump team, though. So I'm guessing they got some good pipe hitters on
Well, that's
Harris.
at least the Trump team got something a little bit better than what they gave Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, something instead of nothing. Yeah.
I'm spent, Hesher.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. Thanks for joining us today, Ruckus. Really appreciate you sitting in. Thanks to Joseph Arthur for hanging with us, and thank you for hanging with us here at the Sunday Wire. Don't forget to go to 21stcenturywire.com. There's a support 21 Wire link up there in the top menu. Go to Alternate Current Radio as well. We all need your support right now. These are trying times for those of us out here in independent media. And your support is highly, highly valued. So if you're a member over there at 21wire.tv, thank you very much. And there are support links on both websites. We all need it. And we really appreciate you. If you're one of those members out there, or if you've dropped something in the swear jar, thank you so much. And to our new listeners and viewers out there, thanks for being here and stick with us. We got a lot coming up for you. This is going to be a very, very interesting year as we get into the the election season. My goodness, what's it going to look like? Will there be more assassination attempts? Will war break out? Will there be cyber polygon? Will there be a steal? We don't know, but we're going to be here doing our best to make sure that we stay straight on all these things as they unfold. Ruckus, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I'm good. Shout out to Patrick. I'm glad to see that he is getting stronger and healthier. Keep doing that, my man. And thanks for having Hesher and me and others manning the helm in your absence, because we know how much the listeners are craving the Sunday Wire fix. So I'm glad we were able to help out in that department, and happy to do so again until your steadfast, hopefully soon return, Mr. Henningsen. We miss you. Thank you to the listeners. God bless each and every one of you, and may God save this republic. Ruckus out.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. And thank you once again for being here. We'll see you again for another Sunday Wire, hopefully next week. If not next week, definitely the week after that. And have a great rest of the weekend. Hesher out.